So I was thinking about cutting some off and then just kind of braiding them together, give it more strength. And
you can do that. There is and you're such a good gardener, you may have seen these things. I'm not sure if we have any of them inside right now, but there's a European, it's not really called a product, but something they call a link stake. And they're plastic coated heavy wire stakes that are shaped like an inverse L. They come up, they go across, and then they have a little piece that goes downward. And by the way, up here at the top, it makes a circle before it comes out like this. And you can take them and literally link them together. That little piece that goes down hooks into the thing, and you get them in all different lengths, and you can make a circle as big around as you want. I've done this more with Indigo Spire Salvia than with Duranta. But if I wanted to make it more tree-like, I probably, and they're green, so you don't really see them, I'd probably put about 4 or 5 link stakes together to hold the plant up. It's kind of like a tomato cage. It's going to grow out through it, so you don't even know the link stakes are there, but it will definitely make it more upright.
okay. I put it in the wrong place. Can you transplant those very well in the summer? Or
If it's newly planted, you can move it in the summer. If it's been in a year or more,
yeah,
wait, do it next spring.
in the spring. Okay.
But Duranta should certainly be considered. Another pretty form of Duranta, and I learned something about this plant about 2 weeks ago, is you walk out the gate toward the parking lot, you'll see a big kind of brilliant golden yellow variegated foliage. That also is a Duranta. I have yet to see it bloom. And it, if you get it expecting it to bloom, you're going to be real disappointed. But I didn't realize it gotten so big that it posed a little bit of a traffic hazard. People driving in couldn't see people walking out the gate. So I went to cut it back the other day. That thing has spines on it that are worse than bougainvillea spines. If you're going to prune it, put on your gloves. Or Donna gave me as a gift and introduced me to something that's real neat. It's like a leather, kind of like chaps the cowboys wear riding through brushy country. It's like chaps for your arm. Your fingers go through it, then it comes up here, and it has like Velcro around it. Let me tell you, great savior of the arms if you're going to be pruning. But if you get that variegated, they call that variety Cuban Gold, and it's beautiful. But watch out for the spines on it. It took a puncture wound or two before I realized what had me. Yes, ma'am. Loropetalum is a great, colorful shrub if you get the right variety. There are several different loropetalums out there. Please pass up the variety called Blush. We don't carry it at all, and I don't recommend Blush. It gets very chlorotic, and it's a wimpy grower in our soils. In Houston it might be pretty, but not in San Antonio. If you want a pretty loropetalum, one of the purple-leaved forms, the one we like best is called Burgundy Blast. And again, we have some of that in the parking lot. We should have some pots of it as well. But I recommend Burgundy Blast loropetalum as a great plant for the sun. But the Blush, you're going to be very disappointed in. Yes, ma'am.
The one that's right in front of the jasmine I was given.
Okay, bulbine.
Yes, I was given that plant, just one, and I didn't know what to do with it, no instructions. It has been alive probably 4 or 5 years, and I keep separating it. And it's beautiful.
Yeah.
And it stays green all through the winter. And I live out in the hill country.
Yeah.
And we've had freezes and everything else goes, and it stays.
It is called bulbine. This is the orangey form. There's also a pure yellow form. If you look, we've got it planted up against that west fence over there, and it is an outstanding plant. It blooms an awfully lot and just doesn't seem to have many problems. You're going to see a whole lot more of this plant around. How many of y'all went to the Festival of Flowers last weekend out at the Alsafar? Gee, y'all missed out. They were giving them with this plant away. Saws, usually gives the plant away to everybody that comes in, and they were handing out a lot of this plant. And it's a great plant. It certainly is. It has a fleshy leaf, so yes, therefore I'd call it a succulent. Succulent is one of those very misunderstood terms. And by the way, next Saturday, Jeff is going to do the seminar on cacti and succulents. If you like all the weird stuff that's in this greenhouse, Jeff's the one guy that looks after this and is quite knowledgeable on succulents and cacti, so we've come for his seminar next week. Anything that has real fleshy leaf could be called succulent, so yes, I would definitely call this plant a succulent. Yes, sir?
I understand you have olive trees.
We have a few olive trees.
We went to that olive farm in Wembley
Oh, really?
last weekend. It was interesting. What's your opinion on I just like to have it and watch it grow. I know you can't eat the fruit.
Oh, you can eat the
Well,
fruit.
I know you can, but you have to process them. You can't eat them off the tree.
Right. It's an interesting plant. It is, if you want to see, I think, a better operation, you go south of town to Sandy Oaks Olive Orchard. They had their big, did anybody go to Olive Soleil Festival down there? It was quite an event. They were expecting, Sandy, I think she told me they were hoping to have 250, 300 people show up. They had over 3,000. So they were a little overwhelmed. But Sandy has the best selection. There are many kinds of olive trees, and you have to get ones that are the appropriate cold hardiness here. We buy ours from Sandy Oaks, and they're mainly what we call the Araucania types. But they're beautiful, interesting little trees. Don't confuse it with what people call the Mexican olive, which is a totally different plant. It's what we planted the 5 of along the street out there that has the big white flower. It's Cordy is its botanical name. But true producing olives, yeah, as long as we don't have a bitterly cold winter, they'll do real well here. And since most of your olive growers are managing their orchards with organic techniques, we're finding the stuff that's grown organically will many times go 10 degrees colder without a freeze. So even if we have a hard freeze, people like Sandy Oaks may come through very well.
How tall those trees get?
Depends on the variety, probably 12 to 15 feet on average.
Same white width?
Not quite as wide, probably 8 feet wide. 8 feet wide, 15 feet tall, I'd say the average.
Sun too.
Absolute full sun. Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
In your flower bed back here close to the end, is that papyrus that you planted in there? In a flower bed?
No, I don't think so. The upright, kind of grassy looking thing?
This tallest stem with the push top.
People plant things that I'm not aware of. I'll have to look and see. It might be. I will. And
Because you planted in a flower bed, that's what surprised me, because I'd love to do that. I thought it was strictly a bog plant.
well,
Maybe
if you
that's
keep
not
your
what it is.
this flower bed back here stays pretty boggy when it rains. So somebody may have planted it back there, or we may have had some seed just blow back that direction.
No,
But
these are two planted plants.
I'll take a look at them. But if you keep your flower bed kind of boggy, yeah, it'll do just fine. As will umbrella grass, as will white flowered rush. A lot of bog plants don't have to grow in standing water. They'll grow in just moist soil. The kind of place that I would put a plant like that, if you want to put it, out in the yard, where the little drain line comes out of your air conditioner, and all summer long it's just constantly dripping the condensate out, put it in a place like that, and it'll be just very, very happy. Yes?
Did you plant olive trees in your yard? Someone was trying to convince me not to, that they're very messy.
You know, what's messy? Crepe myrtles are messy. Ask anybody who's got one towering over a swimming pool. But do we say don't plant crepe myrtles? No. Lantanas are messy. They drop flowers everywhere. Bougainvilleas can be terribly messy. I love it. If you want the flower, you're going to have to put up with a little bit of a mess, and otherwise stick plastic in your yard, and I'll talk bad about you on the radio. I would not consider them to be any more messy than most things. If you're worried about messy fruit compared to a loquat, no, olive's not nearly that messy. Native persimmon, sure, it's messy, but messy's in the eye of the beholder. These people that want to have a monoculture lawn and everything trimmed, to the nth degree, yeah, send them back to England where they belong. No, I think olives are fine. They're not too messy for me. Other questions, comments? Well, thank you all.
I just have a question, and this isn't to do with anything. I have a red oak that I planted in the front yard, and it's about 3 or 4 years old now. And two things. It is just light green now. Before it was real dark green. Now it's growing like crazy, but it's just light green.
You can try putting more green sand and more fertilizer around it and see if it improves. It may or may not. The big problem with red oaks is that there are about 6 different species of trees that they call red oaks. Basically, if it's an oak tree and it has red leaves, it gets called a red oak. Not all red oaks grow well here. The box stores in particular specialize in selling the Shumard red oak, which is the worst red oak in the world for this area. It's fine for skiing, but you're going to fight chlorosis with it. If you're anywhere from mid-San Antonio west, if you're north of Highway 90, you're going to spend a fortune trying to make that tree dark green. And the further it grows its roots out into the caliche soil, the worse it's going to become. So if it's a Shumard red oak, my advice is pull it up and send it home, somewhere east. it's never going to make the tree you want it to be.
So
Sorry to
what kind
say
of red
that.
oak would you recommend?
The Hill Country Red Oak, Quercus buckley, does beautifully. But now, I'm not a big fan of red oaks if you're anywhere there's any oak wilt around. Because the red oaks are the tree that if they get oak wilt, they die 2 weeks. I mean,